Kofi nodded, determined to do whatever it took. Mami Water then left him to the first challenge, a labyrinth of underwater caves filled with illusions. This is the test of the heart, she explained. These caves will show you your deepest desire, but you must resist them and stay true to your purpose. Kofi took a deep breath and dove into the water, following the light that emanated from Mami Water. He entered the labyrinth of underwater caves, and immediately the illusions began to appear. First, he saw visions of wealth, golden treasures, jewels, and riches beyond the wildest dreams. The images shimmered in the water, tempting Kofi with promises of a life free from struggles. He could see himself returning to the village, his boat laden with riches, his people cheering for him as a hero. The lure of the gold was almost overwhelming, but Kofi clenched his fists and reminded himself of his true mission. The wealth before him was nothing more than a trick, a mirage designed to lead him astray. He closed his eyes, focusing on the memory of his village, the faces of the people who depended on him, the elders who had trusted him with his tasks. With a resolute heart, Kofi pushed forward, leaving the visions of wealth behind. The treasure faded into darkness, and the path before him became clear once more. But the labyrinth was not finished with him yet. As he swam deeper, the visions changed. This time, he saw his father, the man he had admired and loved so dearly. His father was standing on the shore, alive and well, calling out to Kofi to come home. The sight was so real, so vivid, that Kofi's heart ached with longing. He wanted nothing more than to embrace his father, to hear his voice again, to tell him of all the things he had done in his absence. Tears welled up in Kofi's eyes, and for a moment he wavered. But then a thought pierced through the fog of emotions. His father would never ask him to abandon his people. The image of his father was another illusion, a test of his resolve. With great effort, Kofi tore his gaze away and swam forward, his heart heavy, but his mind clear. The illusions of his father disappeared, and the labyrinth began to collapse around him. The walls of the caves crumbled, and the path behind him closed off. But ahead, Kofi saw a faint light, his way out. With all the strength he could muster, he swam towards the light, determined to escape before the labyrinth sealed him in forever. Kofi emerged from the labyrinth, gasping for breath as he broke the surface of the water. The relief was short-lived, however, as he found himself in a new part of the ocean, a vast open expanse where the water was unnaturally still. Mami Water appeared before him once more, her expression unreadable. "You have passed the test of the heart," she said, her voice carrying a note of approval. "But now you must face the test of sacrifice. In this test, you will be asked to give up something dear to you, something that holds great meaning in your life. Only by doing so can you prove that your intentions are pure." Kofi's mind raced as he tried to think of what he could possibly offer. He had no riches, no possessions of great value. The only thing he had was his father's spear, the weapon that had been passed down through generations, a symbol of his family's legacy. The spear was all he had left of his father, a reminder of the man he hoped to become. Mami Water extended her hand, waiting for Kofi to decide. The weight of the choice pressed down on him, but deep inside, Kofi knew what he had to do. With a heavy heart, he reached for the spear. It had been his most prized possession, a source of comfort and strength. But he knew that the well-being of his village was far more important. With a surly expression, Kofi handed the spear to Mami Water. "I give this to you," he said, his voice steady, though his heart ached. "It is the most precious thing I have, but I offer it in the hope that you will see the sincerity of my intention." Mami Water accepted the spear. Her eyes softened as she held it in her hands. "You have shown great courage, Kofi," she said. "To sacrifice something so dear is a sign of true strength. You have passed the test of sacrifice." Kofi felt a mix of relief and sorrow as he watched Mami Water take the spear. He had passed 2 of the 3 tests, but he knew the final challenge would be the most difficult. Mami Water's gaze grew intense as she prepared to present the last trial. "The final test is the test of truth," she said. "In this test, you will confront a truth that you have long buried in your heart. It may be painful, but only by facing it can you prove your worth." Kofi's heart pounded in his chest. What truth could she be referring to? He had faced his deepest desire and made a great sacrifice. What more could there be? The waters around Kofi began to churn, and before him appeared a vision of his father. But this time, it was no illusion. The figure was real, but not as Kofi remembered him. His father looked older, wearier, and his eyes were filled with a deep sadness. Kofi's breath caught in his throat as the figure spoke. "Kofi, my son," the figure said, "you have done well to come this far, but there is something you must know. The night I disappeared was not because of the storm or the wrath of the ocean. It was because I too faced the test of Mami Water, but I failed. I could not complete the final test, and so I was taken by the sea." Kofi's eyes widened in shock. His father's disappearance had been a mystery, a wound that had never fully healed. To hear the truth now, after all these years, was almost too much to bear. His father continued, his voice filled with regret. "I could not let go of my pride," his father admitted. "I refused to accept the truth that I was not invincible, that I had made mistakes. I could not humble myself before Mami Water, and so I was lost. But you, my son, you have the chance to succeed where I failed. You must acknowledge your own weakness, your own fears, and only then will you be able to move forward." Tears filled Kofi's eyes as he listened to his father's words. The truth was painful, but it was also liberating. He had always tried to live up to his father's expectation, to be strong and unyielding, but now he realized the true strength came from humility, from accepting one's flaws and learning from them.